Hey everybody, this is Blake here. I am doing a review Memoirs episode on Spoony 1. Why am I skipping all of my other reviews to get to him? Well, for two reasons. For one, people keep asking me what I think about Spoony's mental breakdown on Twitter and him subsequently being fired from That Guy with the Glasses. And also, I have a deleted scene that I want to get out there because most of the times when I have deleted scenes, they tend to get lost. Either I can't remember what file I put them under, or the computer crashes and I lose all my data. So I figured I'd go ahead and just get this out of the way, even if I am breaking the lineup. So this was, my review of Spoony was probably one of my most anticipated reviews of all time. Everybody kept asking, when am I going to cover Spoony? When's that going to be out? And I was pretty evasive with my answers. But what's odd about that is he actually did not win the Season 3 race. He was chosen as just a random selection. And so that was nice, I guess. And I figured when he was chosen, he'd make for a great season finale. Now, I first heard of Spoony all the way back during That Guy with the Glasses Year 1 brawl, and I thought he was pretty amusing, but I kept hearing how good of a reviewer he was. So I checked out some of his videos over time, and I liked them, but I never thought they were great. Well, sometimes I did think they were great, but as a whole, I wasn't quite as impressed with Spoony as I was with the Nostalgia Critic at the time, the Cinema Snob, etc. And so I eventually would finish watching all of his stuff when I started my review. And, you know, I still think that he's a good reviewer. I think that he does everything that he does pretty well. It's just a question of if you like that format, if you like that style. And obviously there are going to be people who disagree with me there. But, you know, I think he has the right personality, the right equipment. He's got some decent analysis skills. And, you know, he's a pretty funny guy. But obviously he has a lot of problems. So when I first started forming this review, I knew I had to be ambitious about it because the expectations for the review would be too high. And I initially was planning to have it be a three-parter. I ultimately changed my mind around the time I did my re-review of The Angry Video Game Nerd just because that was a three-parter and it wasn't supposed to be. But the first part would have been almost completely sketch humor oriented. The second part would be, for the most part, the bulk of the review. Then the third part would have been me talking about Spoony's personality, you know, his acting, his delivery of jokes, and then also his personal conduct issues. With the sketch video, it would have been primarily what you see in part one of my Spoony review, where Spoony's this evil dictator, and he has an army of trolls at his disposal, but the footage of the trolls is just used from Troll 2, which doesn't really feature any trolls. And then his detractors would be portrayed by footage from Troll 3, which are just plants. And I figured that would be fun to kind of combine all of that. And then he's, of course, defeated by the Trinity of Awesomeness, which at the time I was planning your Pierre Kirby, but I couldn't decide on the third member. I actually didn't decide on Red Brown until I was watching Spoony's Howling 2 review, and he showed a clip of a movie that I can't even remember the title, but I remember loving as a kid. I actually used to own it on VHS, and Red Brown was in it, and he was really funny in that, and it was a pretty hardcore movie. It was stupid as hell, but fun to watch. And so I figured, all right, that would be a perfect one, so I put Red Brown in there. And it didn't occur to me until I was editing it that, wait, Yor was played by Red Brown. But then I figured, oh, it's not like I'm being coherent here to begin with, so nobody's going to notice. Well, somebody did notice. But so yeah, that was going to be an entire video. There was going to be lots of cameos. I was planning on that anyway. You know, Space Godzilla and Anguirus would make appearances. But then over time, I just started thinking it would be too much work, and well, I would actually end it with, oh shit, I was supposed to review him, wasn't I? But I just cut that out. And I was actually planning on reusing that gag for my Jaws 5 Cruel Jaws Creepy Bald Guy review. But I just couldn't figure a way to do that either. So I just, eventually, as I was writing the first draft of my Spoony review, I figured I'd just throw that in there, but in a much more condensed fashion. So it actually worked out, I think, for the better there. And I ended up reorganizing the Spoony review to it was just 2 episodes, and completely reformatted it. And you know, I'm actually really proud of them, even more so now than when I made them, because usually when I watch my videos in retrospect, I hate them. I think they're so boring or stupid. But when I watched these, I was surprised at how much I enjoyed my own works, which never really happens. And so I was pleased with them. But what were some other things I need to discuss? Oh yeah, there was one gag. I'm not even sure if I filmed. If I find it, I'll play it here. But if you're still watching me, you're obviously I could not find it. But one thing I realized when I was going through his website was that Spoony does not live that far from me. I just happened to be going through his information page on his website, and he put his address, which I would never personally do. But I realized I'd been in that area before. I actually used to live really close to there. But so that's kind of weird, and it made that joke where I talk about stalking him a whole lot creepier. And in fact, if I didn't have that clip, what I would say at the very end was, what's creepy about that is I literally live like 30 minutes away from him. And so that, it could have been funny, but for whatever reason I didn't use it. I just didn't like my execution of it, or I just forgot. I don't really remember which it was now. My memory sucks so badly. But then the big deleted scene was this. Now, before I show it to you, the scene you see at the very end, I'm clearly looking down, because that was supposed to be a voiceover. And I just never really got around to putting the clips over it. So just keep that in mind, and here's that deleted scene.
I'm going to be using an excerpt from the Channel Awesome Wiki to summarize what Spoony's web show is about. The Spoony Experiment is Noah Antweiler's addle-brained, scattershot attempt to understand pop culture and all the geeky things that shaped his tormented, warped psyche. You'll find movie reviews of childhood classics and Hollywood blockbusters, and let me remind you that Spoony is a That Guy with the Glasses reviewer, and That Guy with the Glasses has their own language. If you translate childhood classics and Hollywood blockbusters from their language to English, both roughly mean crappy movies. Other ways of saying crappy movies in That Guy with the Glasses speak include nostalgia, cinema, and film. Oddly, angry sometimes means enthusiastically happy. I am, of course, reading off of the TGWTG Wiktionary, which is very helpful. But moving on, he also covers video game reviews of old Nintendo games, jacked up PC games you've probably never heard of, and modern abominations of gaming that plague the PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. I am already regretting quoting from that obsolete wiki. Now you might be expecting me to immediately call nerdsploitation because he's angry and a reviewer of video games. But honestly, whenever I watch a Spoony review, whether I like the video or not, I've never felt the need to say he ripped off or exploited any of the nerd's traits or ideas. But don't automatically presume that I am fan-wanking all over Spoony, because I've done that before, not realizing that that was supposed to be taken as a metaphor, and the restraining order says I cannot do so again. But I am going to be careful. You see, at Spoony's disposal is an army of trolls who prowl the web, turning detractors into plants, which they then eat. But some of those plants escaped, and turned into Spoony's fiercest enemies. Okay, so to represent the fanboys, I'm using footage of Troll 2, which features goblins, not trolls, and then for the detractors, I'm using footage of Troll 3, which has plant monster things instead of trolls. Is there a metaphor there? Either way, I shall be caught in the war between goblin trolls and plant trolls. And every side will hate me when this is over, because my review won't be positive enough to win over the fanboys, nor will it be negative enough to win over the detractors. So I have to explain my points as clearly as possible.
So why did I change that and cut those parts out? Well, for one, it eventually occurred to me how stupid it was to use the Channel Awesome Wikia. The main reason I used that is because I liked the way it worded their description of him. I'm trying to be a little bit more creative with how we describe reviewers, so instead of just they review video games and movies, I really liked how when they described Spoony, it was really more about Spoony. It's the movies or games and their effect on him. I thought that was really appealing. I think it's kind of funny that I say creative when I'm just lifting off of other people's sites to describe him, but over time, the more I thought about it, the more stupid it sounded. And by the time I was going to start filming again, because I filmed these videos over like a week, so that's why sometimes the continuity is a little off. I just thought that's really stupid. So what I did is I saved the video, and then I cannibalized it. I used the parts that I liked, and then refilmed those other parts where I think I just lift off Spoony's website instead, which is better. On continuity, one thing that was a good indication that I filmed it during a different day is the lighting. When it's darker, you could see the light reflecting off my bald head more, and that's usually an indication that was probably the end of the day that I was filming for. So anything else I got there? No, the second part wasn't as funny, but I still enjoyed it more or less. It wasn't easy to make, but I got through it fine, and it was an all-around rewarding experience. These are definitely some of the more popular reviews that weren't hosted by the actual reviewer. Usually, like with Some Call Me Johnny, the Cinema Snob, and Angry Joe, they all favorited those videos, so it's no surprise that they turned out to be watched by so many people. But with Spoony, I've already gotten close to 2,000 or 3,000 views on them. And the second part oddly has more hits than the first part. I'm not really sure how that happened. If anybody can explain that to me, I'd love to know why it would work that way. But all in all, I was happy with both of those reviews. But what do I think of Spoony's mental breakdown? It's weird because whenever I say things like this, it's usually, like with Angry Joe, I was making that video when he did the VGA thing. I'm like, oh, why did you have to do this right now? So I had to edit that in. But with this Spoony situation that happened like a week after I did the second video, all I could really gather is Spoony made some really tasteless joke towards Jesu Otaku. It was interpreted as a rape joke by some, but I kind of saw it more as some sort of S&M joke. Really stupid and really in poor taste, but I guess I could see why some people would think it was a rape joke. But like a month later, Obscurus Lupa noticed it, and she made a pretty big deal out of it. And even though I think Spoony was wrong, I don't think she handled it too much better either. I think that would probably have worked better if she had complained in private. Plus, he had already apologized. But it seems like from there, Spoony just got worse and worse. He was bad-mouthing some other contributors on That Got the Glasses, and he was banning fans left and right for just disagreeing with him, really. And I hate it when people do that. I don't get why people would take the internet world so seriously that they would start lashing out like that. See, like, people always say that I'm a nice guy, but the truth is, on the internet, I think about what I say before I type them usually. So I can give that, I can make it seem like I'm much nicer than I really am. For all I know, if you met me, I'd be a total asshole. And, but with Spoony, he's like the total opposite. Sometimes I think he really wants to be perceived as a troll, and that's kind of odd, and it sometimes is really funny. One thing I will give Spoony is when he is trolling his own fan base or being a total douche, he at least is pretty funny about it, but he does take it too far to the point where, yeah, it does make it difficult to watch some of his videos. Now, him getting fired from That Guy with the Glasses, I guess it sucks for all parties involved because he is friends with a lot of these guys, obviously, and he was a big contributor on the site. But at least it seems like he has more or less kept up a relationship with some of them. He's replied to the Cinema Snob and I think Angry Joe a few times on Twitter. So hopefully those bridges haven't completely burned. I thought it was weird, though, that the nostalgia critic, Doug, he didn't know about it until a little bit after. I thought that was kind of odd that Spoony would get fired from whoever it is that runs the site, and Doug wouldn't even know about it. You'd think just out of respect you'd get his permission to go ahead with that, but I really don't know what goes on behind the scenes. I really don't care. And honestly, is this breakdown really affecting my opinion on Spoony? Sort of. I mean, I think he could do a lot better in how he acts to people, but at the same time, I just think it's dumb judging people over how they act over the internet, because I don't know them. I don't know them in reality. I think the only way you could really judge somebody accurately is by meeting them face to face. And if I met Spoony and I thought he was a total prick, yeah, that would affect my judgment. And I will admit, though, if I was one of the people who was banned by Spoony for that, or if he made some smart-ass comment to me that I took offense to, yeah, that would bug me. So if you were affected in that way, I could see why you'd be pissed. But as just somebody who's on the sidelines watching, yeah, I don't care. It's not their real life personas has no effect on me whatsoever until it starts to affect me directly. And so that's really what I feel. It's none of my business, I guess, is the short version of all this. So, I don't really regret anything with my Spoony review. Yeah, he certainly had great timing there. But, so it's not a big deal for me, but I guess I can understand if it is a big deal to you. So that is all I really have to say. I enjoy Spoony's videos, but I'm not particularly in love with them either. But I was proud of what I did for my videos. I think they're probably some of my best videos yet, and I'm glad that people mostly seem to like them. So that is all. I'll see you guys later.